from San Antonio, Texas, born and raised. I grew up on the east side of San Antonio. I would consider myself a grandmother's. I was raised by my grandmother for the most part of my life. Single parent household. When I was with my mom before I got with my grandmother, I have an older sister and a younger brother. I'm the middle child, so there was ups and downs in the household.
You have did you have a father figure or any male influence around you?
I didn't have a father figure. I had an uncle that was in my life whenever he wasn't in prison himself.
You think that looking back now and when we look at a lot of young males who take to the streets and they carry unregistered firearms like their wallets, and they show them on social media, they brag. Do you think a lot of that comes from not having a male role model, somebody who gives you a greater purpose besides just what you see other people doing on social media?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I believe that has a lot to do with it not having a father figure.
Who was the biggest influence as far as you wanting to get into the streets? Like what was it, man? I mean, was it the big homie? Was it, the older cats in the hood? I mean, what really made you want to get out there and get your hustle on?
It was the environment in itself. I would say, like, my mom being a single parent and always asking her if I can have something, and all she ever had was the funds to pay rent or pay some type of bill. So 90% of the time it was always a no. And I just, I wanted to step out on my own. You know what I mean? I wanted to have my own. So that was one of the main things that pushed me to get involved in the street life. I just wanted my own.
How old were you at that time when you started, like, getting out there and getting involved in the streets?
I was young. I would say between 12 and 14. I would always walk up to around the corner to the store and see a lot of guys that was older than me. They was gang banging and they was hustling. You know what I mean? It started from there. My grandmother. Even though I didn't have a father figure, my grandmother and my mother would always tell me right from wrong. But I was one of them type of kids that had to learn the hard way. I had to bump my head.
Yeah, I was one of those kids too. I knew better, but I still had to go out there and see if I could get away with it myself. What was it you got into on the streets, man? Would you take to as far? What was your hustle out there?
It started off with marijuana first, something small, just to get my foot in the door. One day I was going in the backyard of my grandmother's house. She had a shed back there, and there she let this guy that was like I consider him family. My grandmother was always the type that let people stay there. She didn't want to see nobody without. So it was a guy that lived in the shed named Tokyo. One day, I stepped in that shed and I started seeing him smoking crack. And I asked him, I was one of them type of kids that asked a lot of questions. What was it? What type of money does it make? And it went from there.
And so did you somebody front you, or did you take some little money you had and flip that, and then that turned into another flip and another flip? I mean, what was the process?
I was cutting grass. Like on the side, I would cut grass, and then I was already selling candy in school, like selling candy and saving my money, saving my funds. And when I approached this guy on this specific day, I happened to have that $50 to buy my first 50 pack.
And what was that like? I mean, how long did it take you to turn that 50 into something big?
It was quick because he being a user, he knew the other users. He knew the other users, so he put me in the game and schooled me. But he always told me, don't, if he whatever he teach me, don't let my grandmother know.
Did he ever tell you don't ever use this stuff? Like, don't ever smoke this stuff?
Yes, sir.
That was one of my fears too. When my initial introduction into the game, and I seen people smoking that stuff, man. Like, there's always like you said, there's a smoker mentor. He kind of like they guide you, and you go to these smoke spots and they're smoking up in there, and like you're looking around like, damn man, they letting that rock controls everything they do. It's like when I seen the power of that shit, it scared the shit out of me, man.
Man, it's definitely a lot of power in that product.
When you started making moves, I mean, how old were you at this time when you started really like getting major money in your pocket?
I was in high school. You know what I mean? I was one of the ones that was pretty good at saving. You know what I mean? So I had this little stash spot in my grandmother's house, inside the house. And what I would do is every time I would make money, I would always put the profit up and keep going back to get a 50 pack.
And like, what that lead to? I mean, as you progressed in the crack game, I mean, did you eventually start pushing weight, or what was that progression that led to you, like, kind of, eventually getting caught up?
Say that again. I'm sorry.
What was that progression like, that led to you, like, getting more and more drugs and then eventually getting caught up? What was that progression like? What were the steps in that?
I would say not. When I was buying it hard, I eventually wanted to know where it came from. Tokyo told me it came from cocaine, which was powder. I wanted to take it to the next level to learn how to cook it myself. And once I wound up meeting someone that had that, the connection or whatever, I wound up getting higher in the, going climbing up the ladder. You know what I mean, in the game. And as I said before, I was always good at saving money. And one of the things that Tokyo told me, he's like, "Hey man, once you get to a kilo," he said, that's like being hood rich. So my goal was to get to that kilo.
I always tell people that the drug game is just like really same principles apply in regular business, because business is all about a good connect as far as your network circle. You're only as wealthy as your wealthy, your wealthiest friend in that circle, and as far as the people you socialize with, because it's a reflection of who you are. So as you started making money, did you only hang out with certain people? As you started, moving up the ranks, where you hit a kilo? I mean, what?
I started putting a lot of my buddies on, a lot of my friends that was struggling, that didn't have like I did at first at the beginning. I started spreading the love because I always knew how I felt to not have. You know what I mean? So a lot of the guys that was in my age bracket, I started, supplying them with 50 packs. And this is before I even learned how to uh, double up, with the powder. We was just making it, cooking it uncut. And, it was, that uncut. So on the strip that we would serve, which was on Wild Oak, pretty much all of us was on. And that's how I was able to take it to the next level, because they seen how much money was being made with this product. So they was always putting in with me to keep it going. So that's how I was able to elevate too, because I'm getting off of what I have or what I'm selling, and then they bringing their money in too. Because like I said, I had put them on, so that this is before I even expanded out the neighborhood. I'm taking care of people in the neighborhood first.
So were you more business orientated and you kind of avoided the gang banging, or did that kind of play gang banging? Did that play a factor too? You try to avoid that.
What made me not want to gang bang is prior to what I just explained to you. A guy from the neighborhood that was older than me, which he was still a teenager, whatever, he had got killed from being in the gang. And like I said, I always watched him sell drugs and gang bang. So when I seen that death, when I seen him, that whole situation transpire, go to the funeral, just all that from that point on, I knew I didn't want to gang bang. I just wanted to hustle. It made no sense to be up there or be anywhere selling drugs, having to worry about another rival trying to shoot, kill me or whatever the case.
What led to you like expanding beyond the neighborhood? Did you meet somebody from another city or another neighborhood that wanted to connect, and you had a good connect? I mean, how that happened?
Uh, from school and just from messing with vehicles, I wound up befriending more individuals from different neighborhoods. But then when I kept climbing up the ladder, I started getting kilos. In order to go up higher and to get more product, I had to expand. So that, I wound up picking the guys that I most trusted. So
So did you have a loyal like crew around you? Did you have like some, a couple guys you could really trust? I mean, were there some really, stand up guys around you at the time?
yes, yes, sir.
Your height, like when you started really copping weight, like what were you purchasing at the time? Were you, what
It was between 5 to 10 units at a time. Yeah, it was between 5 to 10 units at a time. No fronts or nothing, just bomb.
yeah, you didn't want to have to be owing anybody anything.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
How long was that run, man? When you were like when you got to that 5 to 10, like how long were you able to maintain that before shit hit the fan?
I would say from like just straight, I would say from 05 into 8, you know what I mean? 08, 09-ish. Um, and the thing was, I was dealing with some Mexicans from the city, from San Antonio, and I come to find out he was a middleman. He couldn't even keep up with with the demand. So I wound up thinking like, man, I need to jump on 10. I need to jump on that highway and go give me a plug to where I don't have to deal with no middleman in San Antonio. I can deal with somebody that can keep up with how I'm buying them. And that's what I did, man. I wound up jumping on 10, going down by Eagle Pass or whatever, and I wound up, plugging in with the right person at the right time. And uh when I started, when I got on that level, some of the Mexicans from the inner city from San Antonio was like, damn, like how is he able to sometimes they can't get it, but I got it.
Hmm. But a lot of people start like, getting in their feelings about you, or there a lot of jealousy, or were you cool with most people? I mean, I know as you, start making moves, people kind of see these moves you're making, and certain people think like, some kind of way.
Yes, I really never had a problem with guys outside of my neighborhood. They showed more love than the ones in my neighborhood. I was young then, and I was having problems with the older heads, the ones that's considered OGs or the big homies. You know what I mean? Like they didn't know I was on like that because, like I said, I had my group that was my age, and like I said, it was the situations within the neighborhood. And I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, wow, like I didn't think that would happen because me and some of these guys were from the same neighborhood, but that's where the most hate comes from, where you're from. When they see you elevating and they don't like it.
What what actually led to you catching your case? I mean, was it somebody told, or somebody got caught up, or undercover? How that worked? How that happened?
A reputable dude from my neighborhood, he had got caught, and been to prison multiple times, and you know, he wound up starting my investigation.
With somebody else, man, they're looking for a way to get out of their situation, so they throw somebody else under the bus, huh?
Right. Yes, sir.
Then, because you weren't on anybody's radar at the time, correct?
No, no, sir.
But did that lead to like them? Did they start like looking into you? You started like people started following you, or just watching you, or
To be honest with you, like I sent someone right, but like a lot of times vehicles will pass by where we will hustle at, and I will see how the unmarked white, white guy or Mexican guy, even black guys, will look at me from the side eye, and I'm like, damn, why they look at me like that? So my boys would be like, nah, you tripping, but like it was a way that they would look at me when they would drive by in these unmarked vehicles. So that was one
hmm.
of the signs, and I should have went with my first mind when I seen that. My boys is like, nah, you thinking too much, you tripping, or but the whole time I wasn't. I was really being watched.
Hmm. What was the situation that resulted in your arrest? How did that go down?
Uh, um, well, from the motion of discovery, They said that they got on me. They received information on me in 2006. Yeah, in 2006, and somehow they got off of me or whatever, and then they got back. They got more information on me in 2007. My uncle had got killed in 2006. So it was like, dang, it was just a lot of different individuals that were purchasing stuff and getting pulled over or whatever, that led to more arrests. And that's, gradually that's how they was able to get closer to me.
When you were in the game, did you have like a goal like you were trying to get to and you were going to get out, or were you, looking to transition into some other stuff? Like, where was your mind at the time when you were really making all that money?
That was the goal. But if I can be clear and be honest, that's what I lacked. I lacked business, and I had a guy that got indicted with me, which was one of my buddies, and he was the brains. He was, when I say brains, I'm talking about like business. He knew business, but him seeing his little brother, which is me, because I was like a little brother to him, elevate how I elevated. He was so excited. It was like he had never seen anything like this. So instead of him showing me the business to show me a way to get out, he was just so excited. Like, I'm trying to invest money. I started a record label. I did a major show here in San Antonio in hopes that would accumulate enough money to where I can back up out the game. But all it did was make my situation worse, because it was like, okay, we already watching him, and he's gonna do this show that costs all this money and do this. Oh, we got to get him. We got to take him off the streets. So yes, I was trying to find a way out, but unfortunately, I didn't get that opportunity.
What was the amount of time they gave you for, like, when they finally busted you? I mean, what was that?
I received.
What was the sentence?
I received.
That was like the deal.
They offered me 10. My lawyer told me to sign for 10. I'm a guy. I never done time. I've never been a juvenile. Never been to state. All I ever had on my background was like speeding tickets and stuff like that. So any amount of time sounded like a lot of time to me. So when he was like, "Man, you looking at some time," and I had got caught red-handed. When they got me, I got caught with 227 grams of crack, and then like they searched the car like an hour later, and then they found the firearm. So I wound up getting 120 months for the crack cocaine, and then they wound up giving me 60 months, and they ran it consecutive for a 924C, which was the firearm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. 924C. Damn.
So he told me that they would offer me 10. The deal would be 10, but like, man, like the lawyers just talking. I feel like when it comes to the feds are, man. Now that I know, I'm learning.
When you got the time, and you kind of like realized you were gonna have to, be off the streets for a while. Did you immediately like think like, man, I gotta come up with a plan for when I get out, or were you still like trying to just, were you dealing with like the reality of being locked up? What was going through your mind?
To be honest with you, I didn't take it serious until I received that time, and I had custody of my daughter, full custody of my daughter. So when I got that 15 years, I was just like, damn, man, like I failed my daughter. I got this time. I paid this lawyer all this money. It was a lot going on. It was a lot going on in my mind. Like, damn, man, like I ain't never done time.